Okay. Sorry, I was playing around with that code that Martha gave me before I started here. Um, I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was gonna see before I live streamed it. Okay, so here we go. Let's get started here. Welcome everybody. Holy cow, we've got 400 people here already, and we just got started. This is awesome. Listen, in the end, YouTube is a business, right? And you got to appeal to the crowd. You got to appeal to your consumer, and you, the community, are the consumer. And as much as I keep trying to do other stuff, I can't deny the popularity that this game has had on the channel this week. I kind of just stumbled on it by accident. I thought it might be fun to do one video, and then it did really, really well, so I did a couple more. So I was looking for... I am still going to stick to not playing this nonstop. I am going to come back to this every so often. We will eventually do all the historical elections. But I was looking for an idea to stream tonight, and I thought this would be fun for a live stream. So this will be the last you see of this for at least a few days while I get to some content that is not American history. We're going to try to do some non-American history stuff. So anyway, welcome everybody. And I apologize in advance if I do not see your questions and comments. We're already at 500 and we're just getting started, which means we're probably going to end up with over 1,000 people in this one. I do have slow chat on, but it's still moving super fast. So, couple of things. Just a reminder, especially for anybody who may be new to the channel, we do avoid modern politics for the most part on this channel, which means please... for the sake of our discussion right now, let's keep it to the historical eras that we're discussing. Definitely not the place for arguing about this year's election or any of the recent elections. There are plenty of places you can do that. Please don't do it here. We're here to talk about history and our love for history. So there's that. There are a couple of mods in here, so I'll kind of rely on them to... moderate the chat and things like that as best as possible. We'll play at least a couple of rounds of this. And if I don't answer your question, go ahead and type it again, but please don't keep spamming the same thing over and over again. There's a good chance I may just be ignoring it if it's really off topic or just not something that I feel like I can address. So anyway, so let me show you what is available here. So there's this mod loader down here. Some people have asked, because I've had people see me do elections that they don't see on the list. So yeah, if you just hit mod loader right here, it gives you all these other options that start with 1796, Adams and Jefferson. You've actually got a Texas election in 1836. You got 1848, then it goes to 76, 89, 84, 92. 1908, 1912. That's where I did the 1912 one that I did yesterday. And then it kind of goes up from there, and there are a lot of options available. So, trying to decide a good one. I don't think 1864 is an option on here. Hey, happy birthday, Charlotte. 1936 is Alf Landon would be a tough one. That would be really tough. Hoover in 32 would be really tough. I haven't seen the American Crime Stories yet. William Jennings Bryan in 1896 would be an interesting one to do. I will not play as Woodrow Wilson unless it's to tank his campaign. That's just something I cannot in good conscience do. That might be the only candidate I'm unwilling to take on in all of this. So, holy cow, here come all the people. So let's do this. I'm going to throw up a poll with a couple of ideas, and I'll let you guys vote. Thank you, Travis. Appreciate that. Cool historical sites in Indiana. There's an amazing cemetery in, I think it's Crown Hill Cemetery in Indianapolis. There's a president buried there, a lot of famous people buried there. That's the first one that comes to my mind. So let's see. We'll put a couple of options here, and I'll let you guys vote on which one you want to do. Let's do that. How about Oh, Thomas Jefferson's probably the other one I can't in good conscience take on as a role. So, and in all these cases, I want to do the one who didn't win, right? So I want to try and change the outcome. And Little Bighorn is absolutely coming. That is right at the top of my list of domestic places I want to go. Heading back to Chattanooga, I just found out this afternoon. Oh, the big shot thing was something that that one of the developers told me I should try out. So I did that right before we started streaming. I'm going back to Chattanooga because I'm speaking at a school near Chattanooga in late September. So I'm going to probably plan on doing some content at the Chickamauga battlefield while I'm down there. All right, so let's scroll back. Let's look at a couple of other options, and then I'll throw the poll up for you guys. All right, we'll say William Jennings Bryan, 1896. And for a real big mess, how about something like... Oh, you even have the option for Reagan in 76. Ronald Reagan almost beat Gerald Ford for the nomination in 1976. You've got RFK as an option. That's a very ahistorical one. Viva Kennedy, that's interesting. There's probably almost no chance I could win as Goldwater. So I'm not even sure I want to try that one. How about, let's throw up... What's one more good one we'll try? We could do McGovern in 72, because McGovern won one state in 1972. So anything better would be, or anything more would be better than a bloodbath. All right, here we go. Here comes the poll. So vote away. Let's see how you guys punish me on this one. Steve D, thank you. Tank as FDR in 1932. I have noticed that these polls tend to the more modern. You just ordered a Jimmy Carter mug from Amazon. Give him some love. I won't give him some love as a politician. I'll give him some love as a human being, though. I mean, he was pretty moderate, but I don't think too highly of his presidency. But I think very, very highly of him as a person. We need a McGoverned America. Pharaohs, I was just on Long Island last fall. I actually visited Theodore Roosevelt's grave when I was there. I spoke at an elementary school in Setauket. Woos Brain. That it took me a second to figure out what that was. Thank you. Appreciate that. My favorite English monarch, Edward III. Got to visit his grave at Westminster Abbey, so that was fun. Hoover on normal is almost impossible. Yeah, I get that. All right, looks like you guys want to see me miserably fail as Herbert Hoover in 1932. I think that's actually one that we can do in the regular... No, it's not. Okay, so we got to go back and load the mods for this one. So 1932. We're going to take on Hoover. So Curtis is a previously serving vice president. So here we go. The Roaring Twenties were a wave of prosperity the Americans had never seen before, and with it came a wave of popularity for the incumbent Republican administrations. Herbert Hoover rode that wave into the presidency in 1928. So he comes in off of, we have Warren Harding elected in 1920. He dies in office. So then we have Calvin Coolidge, who fills the rest of his term and then runs for re-election successfully in 1924. And now we have Herbert Hoover, who was Secretary of Commerce previously to this. So Ryan, thank you. And Anish Patel, thank you for that. All right, so we are going to take on the role of Franklin Roosevelt. Or not Franklin Roosevelt, Herbert Hoover. So Franklin Roosevelt, he was the Democratic nominee for vice president in 1920. He was on the ticket. He had been the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. He's married to Theodore Roosevelt's niece. Yes, his wife's maiden name was Roosevelt when they got married. They were fifth cousins. He becomes governor of New York. He gets hit with polio after he runs for vice president. So up until then, he was a very able-bodied, healthy guy. And it was only after he ran for vice president he got polio as an adult. So Green Bay Productions, thank you. I have played Red Dead Redemption. I don't know a ton about the historicity of that time, but it's a fun game. Okay, Charles Curtis. So first Native American. He's partially Native American to serve in the position of vice president. Serves as vice president in 1928. So do I want to choose him again or go a different route? He's spoken out against me in his 1928 bid for president. So he ran against me, but like a lot of times in history, one of the strongest opponents during the nomination process becomes the running mate. A lot of examples of this happening throughout history. Ronald Reagan chose George H.W. Bush as his running mate. Barack Obama did it with Joe Biden. So there are times that this happened. Jason Ashcroft, thank you. Yeah, I would be interested in doing some Mormon history at some point. Do I think I can win? Who do I think I can win as in this stream? Well, in this particular one, I don't know if I can win no matter who I choose. But we're going to see. Yeah, we're up to 914. I probably won't do a UK Prime Minister tier list just because I don't know enough about them to be able to feel confident in doing that. But yeah, I think we'll stick with Charles Curtis. Although it doesn't help me in terms of location because being Herbert Hoover, I'm already from like the Midwest, so I mean choosing a Kansas guy doesn't help me a whole lot. I think I might go with Wadsworth because New York, but I don't know if I can get New York anyway because we're running against the governor of New York, so I think I'm just going to stick with Curtis. I thought Biden ran in 2008. I know he ran recently. I know he faced Clinton. Yeah, Joe Biden ran in 2008. I thought so. He definitely ran in 2008. He just wasn't the primary challenger to Obama. That was Clinton who was the front runner. But Biden definitely ran that year. He ran in 88 also. Next TK3 video. One went up yesterday, so probably a couple days yet, maybe Sunday or Monday. Okay, so winner take all. Normal difficulty is going to be super hard. I feel like I have almost no chance of winning this. I have played War on the Sea. I have a whole series, War on the Sea, on the gaming channel. Do not say the market is sound and prosperous. Thank you for that advice. Okay, your use of... Okay, let's try this again. Now we gotta... There we go. You have to go to the map and come back to make it work right. Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah, we are almost at 1,000. We're at 980. Please hit that like button if you haven't already, guys. I would greatly appreciate that. And just keep in mind, guys, please, no modern politics. So, yeah, there's a delay. There's like a 30-second delay. So by the time you guys are responding to what I've done on the screen, I've probably already moved on. What will be the overall theme of your campaign? I don't know if I want to say we are all in the same boat because that's going to come across as kind of disingenuous because I think Herbert Hoover probably seen as a bit of an elitist. You can see the situation that I'm up against. Right now, the electoral estimate, and I am the incumbent president, is 472 to 59. I mean, there's almost no chance for Hoover to win this election. Remember, we're into the Great Depression at this point. It's brutal. Professor What, thank you. You know what? I almost did a little bit too. I had to remind myself that Andrew Jackson was not necessarily a great human being as I was looking at that story. But that's kind of why I wanted to do those stories, because I think we know so much about these people that served as president from their political lives, and we forget that they had very often tragic personal lives. The janitor family are doing well. Biggest landslide election in history in terms of the popular vote in a contested election was 1964. I mean, I think like back in like 1820, it was very one-sided, but it was basically a not contested election. But in a contested election where both candidates are really trying to win, 1964 was the most one-sided. I think Johnson got like 61% of the popular vote. It was crazy. We are over 1,000. All right, I guess I better start actually playing here. Embrace laissez-faire economics. Laissez-faire is French for leave to do. It's basically let the government just keep its hands off of what's happening. Take the attack to Franklin Roosevelt. He ran on a failed presidential ticket in 1920, and his overly ambitious communistic policies will only serve. I feel like I kind of have to be extreme, right? To have any chance in such a one-sided election. So, I don't know. Optimism and hope. I don't know if I can run on optimism and hope right now. I can't take down Andrew Johnson. It's unfortunately not one of the options because he never really ran for president. So, oh yeah, and electoral votes. Hey Ron, it's a different story. But I wasn't talking electoral. I was talking in terms of the popular vote in 1964. I think is the most one-sided. All right, I'm gonna go extreme here. I'm gonna try the extreme and see what happens. Perhaps this could work, but your attacks will have to really hit the mark due to Roosevelt's popularity. Well, we need to bring that popularity down. What do you have to say about the Wall Street crash of 1929 and subsequent Great Depression? It's an unfortunate turn of events. I will continue my efforts to fix our economy. Yeah, unfortunately, I was president during all that, but it looks like things did shift a little bit. We've got some things that have gone our way. We've got 137 now. What was historically this one? Let's see. This is we're talking 1932 here. So historically, it was 472 to 59. So it's basically where it started is how it ended up. So I'm already doing better. Now we got to pick where we're going to run. I mean, I doubt we're going to get New York. So let's go for states we actually have a chance to win here. My goal, if I could get 200 electoral votes, I will feel like I accomplished something, I guess. What was your rationale behind selecting Charles Curtis as your running mate? Oh, yeah. My son's bringing me my my dinner. Again, yes.
The second time I brought Subway.
During a stream. Thank you, sir. You even put it on a plate for me. Hello.
That was Caleb. Where's my hand?
Oh, you can't see it because you'd have to be over here further.
Yeah.
And you're not going to see it right away because there's a 30-second delay. But
subscribe to Vlogs and Fun with Eli.
Yes, Vlogs and Fun with Eli.
He's better than this man.
Why was FDR so popular coming in? Because he wasn't Herbert Hoover. Honestly, I think that's the thing. And that, and he had just gotten elected governor of New York, which is still the largest state at this point. He's got the name Roosevelt, even though he's a different political party, and he's only a distant cousin. Subway is the dinner, so don't mind me as I take a bite here and there. Oh, darn, I don't have a napkin. All right, we're going to talk about his background rather than him being my vice president. The less we tie him to me, probably the better. So, it's a meatball sub. I'm pretty plain with my subs. And I got some chips, too. Subway, if you want to sponsor me, you can. I do have a sponsorship coming from NordVPN, so excited about that. Also, kind of cool. Let's do a few more questions, and then I'll share some more things with you. Ryan's Silcox, $2 for your kids' smack talk. All right, back to the game. What will your message be as you accept the Republican nomination for president? We have to acknowledge the Depression. We can't act like the Depression's not happening. Criticize the Democrats. Socialist and dangerous radical policies are the last thing our country needs in a crisis. We're going to continue to attack him. That's only going to get me so far, but it has gotten me within 2% of Roosevelt in New York. So that's surprisingly doing pretty well. You can see how badly things are going in the South right now, though. The janitor, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And, of course, we can look at each state and how they're being hit by the Depression, how they feel about things like prohibition. We've got to go for the big states, right? We've got to go for the big money states, basically, is what we have to do in all of this. Let's go to Illinois. Would you consider adopting a New Deal style of government programs? See, I've been hitting him on this, so I'm not sure I can do that. Let's see how people feel about the economy. They're pretty moderate in the states I'm looking toward. They're liberal on social issues, liberal to moderate, and more protectionist to moderate on trade. We will pledge to reform our current policies and brand it as an alternative to Roosevelt's New Deal. However, we will take a reasonable, pragmatic approach as opposed to a radical, unabashedly bold one. So again, I'm going to try to paint Roosevelt as the extremist. That's kind of the direction I'm going with this. I don't know if it'll work, but I got to do something. Seems to be doing okay so far. I'm not gaining a lot outside the Northeast, though. Yeah, Kansas. That's where my running mate's from, so I might be able to get that. But, man, I just don't see the votes being there. Nicholas, there has always been a political divide between North and South. Doesn't always happen exactly that way. But a lot of it, honestly, I think goes all the way back to who settled those parts of the country. The South was heavily settled by people with Scottish backgrounds, Scottish and Irish. So there's a natural kind of built-in aversion to a strong central authority. So throughout time, the South, whether that has been as the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, the South tends to be more about local authority and less government over time. I do not love broccoli at all. Okay. Thousands of World War I veterans are currently gathered at Washington, D.C., demanding that they receive early cash payment from the World War I Adjusted Compensation Act of 1924. How do you deal with this mass protest? I mean, this is one of those things, right? You know, these are people who are out of work. These are veterans, and they're desperate. The act is not supposed to pay out until 1945, and I will uphold that. I will direct more troops. No, we are in the midst of an economic depression with thousands of veterans unemployed around this nation. No one deserves our help more than the brave men who served our country. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and allow for that. Fernando, challenging Eisenhower would be interesting. Yes, it would. The hockey battleship, I don't know if there's a particular strategy, because honestly, this game is as much about knowing history and learning history as anything. The economic situation of the U.S. has undoubtedly worsened due to the mass payouts. Yeah, well, okay, so that didn't really help too much. That seems like it was not the best idea. FDR's wife fed them? Yeah. Kev Rob, thank you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so Pennsylvania and Ohio are looking good, so at least the area where I live is working. How about you utilize radio advertisements to promote your campaign? Roosevelt already has the radio scene. Yeah, Roosevelt was very good at using the radio, and that continued in his presidency, where he did these fireside chats that were very, very popular and very helpful. Regardless of what I think of some of his policies, Roosevelt was a very effective leader at a time when the country needed a very effective leader. Let's see. Utilize the radio early and often. In fact, I will personally speak to my supporters through radio broadcasts. Feedback on your talks is mixed. In the end, you did get your message out to millions of Americans. It's still not making really much of a dent. What monster taste do I like the most? Typically, it's this orange, the Ultra Sunrise, but I really like, there's an apple one that's fantastic. Is this scenario even possible? I think very, very unlikely. I really honestly cannot think of, like with some of these elections I've done, I can think of ways that in hindsight the candidate could have won. Nixon needed to change very little and he would have won in 1960. That's a situation where the campaign could have been won for sure. I don't see a scenario in which Herbert Hoover could have won in 1932, given the situation in the country at that time. As president, you have opposed any revision to the Volstead Act. So, prohibition, there's really two components to this. Prohibition being the ban on the sale, manufacture, and distribution of alcohol. There's technically no law against drinking alcohol. You're just not allowed to make it, transport it, or sell it. So if you have some at home, you're okay, I think. But there was a constitutional amendment that was passed, but then with constitutional amendments, you usually need to then pass legislation that makes possible. So in this case, the Volstead Act was the actual law that came about as a result of the constitutional amendment. So yeah, I think we definitely need to oppose prohibition. My platform will call for a full repeal of the 18th Amendment and therefore prohibition as soon as possible. Acknowledging organized crime and public unrest. Yeah, let's do that. This is a radically changed position on your part and will alarm prohibition advocates. But yeah, what are they going to do? Go to Roosevelt? Because he is in favor of overturning prohibition too. So this is one of those situations where I don't really have anything to lose. Yeah, Zachary, excellent point. Hoover's best chance would have been if FDR was president in 1929. Don't worry about the bots, Mr. Beep's on it. Oh, that was you that said that. All right. Still at 118. We're really not close. We need something that really shakes this thing up. Roosevelt's polling over 90% in the South, so no chance that's changing. As president, would you take action on granting more civil rights to people of color, especially in the South? I got nothing to lose here because I'm not getting the Southern vote anyway. I fully support a civil rights bill. Although we freed the slaves almost a century ago, their children and grandchildren still live under oppression due to racist laws. One of my priorities would be to help the disadvantaged among us. Yes, this will help you in the North, which is a competitive region. However, the strong position will also alienate many border state viewers. I wasn't getting the border states anyway. But really, honestly, that doesn't look like it changed much. I mean, it made the Northeast even stronger in my favor. But I need more than that. I need to start spreading out to the Midwest and some other places. What is your opinion regarding the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which significantly raised tariffs? We're starting to get to the end of the long period in American history where tariffs are a major campaign issue. You know, like in modern times, that's not really something we talk about anymore is tariffs. But for a lot of American history, tariffs were the primary source of income for the federal government. And so tariffs are a big issue, and they're one of those kind of north-south divide issues. So at one point I did support this act, but now I see what effect it's had on our economy. Let's look at some of these states where we maybe have a chance. Protectionism is an issue that I think is going to play well with some of the states that we're going for, at least in the Midwest. Beyond that, not so much. But if we can strike kind of a moderate tone in favor of tariffs, I think we'll be okay. Roaming history, thank you. I appreciate that. Always support the civil rights bills. Oh, watch Ferris Bueller. That's right, they do talk about that act in there, don't they? I am not in real life a teacher, though I did go to school to be a history teacher. Let's go moderate. Although protectionism is important for American business, these tariffs are too high and should be reduced. I'm going to try to go moderate on this one. This could please protectionists while still mitigating the negative impact of the act's unpopularity. It did, I think, help me a little bit with some of these states that looks like Colorado, for example, is maybe in play. I mean, it's only 6 electoral votes, but the easiest way to explain a tariff is basically a tax on imports. So if you are manufacturing something, say in Europe, and you want to import that product to the United States, you're going to pay a cost to import that. It's meant, the reason it's called protectionism, it's meant to protect businesses at home. So in other words, steel made in Pittsburgh doesn't have to deal with a tariff, whereas steel made in Liverpool does. So that's the simplest way to describe it. Yeah, import tax. That's basically it. You're right. Okay. Let's see. Do I got to pick where I'm going again? Let's go back to Illinois. The Revenue Act of 1932, recently signed into law, greatly increases taxes across the board. What are your thoughts on this? We are in the midst of the worst depression in our history. The last thing we need are incentives to discourage spending. Who thought this act would be a good idea? Again, I got to go extreme here. You did. That's fantastic. I love that. All right. Ohio's looking good. I'm up 5% in Ohio. Down 4 in New York. If I could flip New York, that would get me to 182. That's not bad. That's getting close to 200. But, boy, New York's a tough one, man. I mean, I'm running against the governor of New York. Fire Andrew Mellon, yes. Watching from Pittsburgh, Robness. Very cool. So, anyway, I wanted to tell you guys a story real quick. This was cool. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the TV show Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates. It's similar to the show Who Do You Think You Are? Where Henry Louis Gates will sit down with some celebrity, some famous person, and they've done research on that person's family history, and then they kind of go through it, and he unveils it to them. Well, kind of a cool thing happened today. I got a message from the producer of Finding Your Roots. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I am a professional genealogist. I've been doing family history research for, almost 30 years now. But in this case, the producer reached out to me because she found some of my research on a particular family. Now, I'm not going to say which one. I'm definitely not going to say the name, because I don't know if that's information that they don't want coming out, because it's obvious to me that based on the name and the family that it is, it's one of my wife's ancestors, my wife's third great-grandparents. My wife's very closely related to a famous Hollywood actor. And I think that's probably what they're doing, is doing research for an episode on this actor who's like a third cousin of my wife. And they reached out to me because I had done research on that family, and they obviously probably are doing similar research. So kind of cool. I might get to have a little hand in helping with the research on a episode that'll be coming. I responded to the email, haven't heard anything back yet. But anyway, no, that's not actually my profession. I'm a professional genealogist in that I get paid to do that, but it's not what I do for a living. In fact, I don't do it as much as I used to, because once this channel grew like it has, I got so inundated with requests. Like, I was getting like 10 people a day wanting to hire me for family history research. I had to stop doing it altogether. With the growth of this channel and the success of this channel, I just haven't had time. But I've written a couple of family history books. There's a couple of them on Amazon, actually. But my wife is related to The Rock. No. All right, anyway. To what extent do you plan on bailing out industries affected by this depression? Okay. Bailing out industries is a necessary practice in times like these. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think on this one? Should I bail out the industries? Should I only bail out things necessary like banks? Or should I do no bailouts? Let's make this a poll. You guys are going to vote on what we're going to do here. All right. Go ahead and vote while I take a bite of my sandwich. Please don't vote for the banks. The janitor, thank you for that. I don't know exactly how we go about giving those out, but we'll make sure we do that. Hunter Smith, your friend is a Southern sympathizer. I guess I'd need to know a little more to know what you mean. Messi or Ronaldo? Messi. It is a sub with meatballs. Let it burn, no bailouts. I'll probably do another stream sometime on family history research to show how it's done. Give some tips and things like that. All right, looks like yes, bail out the industries is the choice. Do I make my thumbnails? Yes. I do like Elijah. I'm a huge fan of studying apologetics. I'm very interested in such things. Sandwich is Craig Masters. Thank you. It is Subway. Oh, okay. There we go. There's the gifted memberships. Very cool. We do some member streams. I'm probably going to do one Sunday. I'll try to announce when that member and patron stream will be. So if you're a patron at any level, a member at any level, we do some private streams occasionally. So And I'll be able to do streams more often once my kids are back in school, and they go back to school in about a week and a half. So, all right, we're going to bail them out. Once again, you seem to be shifting more to the left. Well, I kind of have to in this case, don't I? All right. That lost me a little bit of support in the Northeast, but... All right, let's end that poll. Yeah, tariffs did definitely help spread the depression globally, but that wasn't the only factor. Am I ever worried about running out of material? No, because there's so much history out there. There's so many things. And worst case scenario, if I ever run out of stuff to do reactions to, I'll just go back to doing what I was initially doing on this channel, which is why this channel was created, which is just doing the historical site content like the one that went up today. It doesn't get nearly the views. In fact, it does pretty poorly compared to most of the other stuff. But that's what my real passion is anyway, and I'll never run out of that. So, do my kids know a lot of history? Probably more than they'd like to. Green Bay Productions, thank you. Yes, the family name change thing is pretty common. You just got to find out what the name was originally and then research it from there. Austintown Pizza and Chicken has the best subs, Craig. I haven't had their subs. We've had food from there, but... Okay, where are we at? Illinois. Do you plan on personally campaigning in public? I have to. Have to. Although they're saying that the approval ratings mean it would probably hurt to do that. I feel like hiding from the public, though, isn't going to do me any favors. Yeah, I'll probably do a vice presidential tier list at some point. Jersey Shore. All right. Your campaigns were largely a disaster, with angry opponents often throwing objects at you and your vehicle as you rode through the city streets. So that failed miserably. Yeah, that just made things worse. Okay. Considering the current rate of deflation of the American dollar, would you consider leaving the gold standard as president? Janitor, thank you again. What city am I planning to watch a World Cup game in when it comes to the U.S.? Honestly, it kind of depends on who's going to play where. I mean, I haven't really decided yet, but we're definitely going to do that, my sons and I. But I get to watch football sooner than that. October 29th, my boys and I are going to see Manchester United play. And then that Tuesday... we're going to go to the Hawthorns and see West Brom play. So I get Man United versus West Ham, and then West Brom, I think, versus Blackpool, I think is who they play. A couple of days later. Super excited about that. And then that weekend, we'll be back in Belgium for a 2-day tour with some of the guys from Band of Brothers. We're going to be actually touring, not only going to Bastogne, but also going up to some of the Western Front stuff, like seeing some of the Dragon's Teeth, seeing the Siegfried Line, some other places too. Super excited about that. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think we're going to abolish the gold standard. Let's see what happens. This will help you a bit among progressives in the party who are threatening to bolt for FDR. Forget the conservatives. I am a Cleveland Browns fan for American football. Let's hope United improve, yeah. We were hoping to see Ronaldo play, but I don't think he's going to be with United by the time we get there. Jats, thank you. William Jennings Bryan. You know what? Here's the thing. Sometimes the most influential people, like William Jennings Bryan with the progressive movement, don't necessarily win elections because they might be a little ahead of their time. So they can help like push forward a particular agenda or a particular ideology, but it may be so radical at the time that even though it moves the country in that direction, it's too radical for them to get elected. Another example is Barry Goldwater in '64. I mean, that's really kind of the birth of the modern conservative movement within the Republican Party. He got destroyed in that election, but he did push the Republican Party in that direction. So it certainly happens. Do I think I'd be a better president than Wilson was? Absolutely. Would McClellan have been a better president than Andrew Johnson? Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Okay. We're going to go back to Illinois. How much negative advertising and attacks do you plan to use in this election? I'm going to attack him relentlessly on things such as his radicalism and history. I have to. Although many of these attacks on Roosevelt stick, to most, this just seems unnecessary and useless pettiness. So I probably should have been a little more moderate in my attacks, I guess. Seems like that backfired a bit. Hugh G, thank you for that. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. I'm not a racist. Of course, I'd be better than Wilson. I am a Cavaliers. I am an all Cleveland sports fan. So Cavaliers, Browns, Guardians, Columbus Crew for American soccer. And then in the UK, West Brom in England and Rangers in Scotland. The janitor, thank you. Do I think Jesus Christ would win if he played in the NFL? Heck yeah, he'd be a great quarterback. How do you envision the foreign policy of the U.S.? So we're going to push the League of Nations. Let's see what that does. This position is booed across the Republican spectrum. Americans at large are more isolationist. Yeah, I should have thought about that. The U.S. is very isolationist right up until Pearl Harbor, really. So that was stupid on my part. Yeah, West Brom's struggling. We need a striker. I'm a huge Daryl DK fan, and I was so excited when they got him, but he keeps getting hurt. It's killing us. West Brom and Rangers really came down to, I was looking for teams in England and Scotland to root for, and those are the ones where my family most recently lived in those countries. My family lived in the West Brom area. Both my maternal grandparents have roots in West Brom. And then my maternal grandmother's family, who really was the mother that raised me, her family went from the Black Country, West Brom area, to Govan, which is a suburb. It's a neighborhood of Glasgow where the Rangers are. So that's why I choose that. Yeah, nothing's going right for me here. I'm down to 92 now. I'm not going to win much at all. Your campaign advisors have reported surplus advertising funds. Great Lakes region, yeah. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze here. I got to look at the light. That usually helps me. Woo, okay. Steve Bruce, honestly, he's all right. But I just wish they would have kept Slaven Bilic. I wish they'd never gotten rid of him. I've been to Iowa several times, but I'd like to get back at some point. What was your opinion on the Emergency Relief and Construction Act, which allowed for federal funds for public works projects across the country, which is something that Roosevelt's a huge advocate of in his New Deal? Varun, thank you so much. Man, we're gifting out the memberships like candy, and I love it. I really appreciate you guys doing that. Yes, I'm proud of this policy. This is not a bad response, but unemployment is still... Ugh. Man, it is going from bad to worse. I'm down to 75 electoral votes. Oh. Soon after the Depression began, your Vice President Charles Curtis claimed that good times are just around the corner. This boomeranged. Dang it, Charles! Yeah, we'll go with that. Austin. Not a huge hockey fan. But when I have Pittsburgh Penguins, because we didn't have a team in Ohio at the time. So I kind of, when I have, like when the Penguins make a run, like when they get into the playoffs and go deep, I'll usually watch, but I'm not a huge fan. It's not like other sports like the Browns Columbus Crew, West Brom, and Rangers, where I pretty much watch every single game. Dumb Brit, thank you. Welcome to Student. Favorite song? Wow, I don't know if I could choose just one song. 82nd All the Way, maybe, right now. Or The Lost Battalion by Sabaton. Stay on script, Charles. Cut your losses here and move on. Many prominent Republicans are refusing to support you, and some have even expressed their support of your opponent. Wow. Make any attempts to get him back on your side. We need any support we can get. I will personally reach out to many prominent figures. Yes. Economy is just too poor at this point for most to support your campaign. As long as I win Ohio, right? How do you feel about helping farmers affected? Oh, this might help us in the Midwest. It's probably too little too late, though. Yeah, let's do it. This is the kind of answer that many in the West want to hear, and this will certainly help you there. Some conservatives will be cranky, however. It's too little too late, unfortunately. At least beat 59 votes. I do not watch anime, no. The Last Battle is an excellent song. I like that. Not really into Formula One. Favorite band, Sabaton. I do listen to music I grew up with. I grew up with, believe it or not, the music I grew up with was 50s and 60s music. Because I was raised by my grandparents. And my grandpa has had bands his whole life. Music has been his life. And so he would do shows like 4 or 5 nights a week after working all day as an electronic technician. He did like TV and VCR repair, stuff like that. So he would travel all day fixing people's electronics, and then he'd go out with his band and play at night, and they would practice at our house. And so they'd be down in the basement practicing, and I would grow up hearing those songs. So music's always been a huge part of my life, and that's kind of what I listened to growing up. But I also, 80s rock, man. I mean, love 80s music. Never really got that into Jerry Lee Lewis. Historical figure I'd most like to slap, Andrew Johnson. Grandpa didn't listen to Whitesnake. No, he didn't. Oh, yeah, I need to do another him video, Professor What. I was thinking about that. I love Football Manager, Dennis. I play it all the time. Right now I'm doing a playthrough. I created a fictional team called Tipton FC. I know there's a real Tipton FC, but I created a team in like the 10th tier of English football, and I'm trying to work my way up to the Premier League. I do like country music. Okay. I would like to slap Woodrow Wilson, but somebody asked most slap. I'm not a huge car guy. I am hopefully very soon getting a Tesla, though. America's foreign trade has fallen 70% since the start of the Depression. What steps would you be willing to take to expand American trade abroad? This is kind of a boring answer, but I can't go back on tariffs. The vague answer offends no one, but pleases no one. Yeah, so that didn't do me any good. I'm stuck in a room with Johnson and Wilson. What do I do? Light the room on fire and leave as quickly as possible. Not a huge boxing fan. Okay, where are we at? I don't think we can get New York at this point. I'm going to try to swipe Michigan if I can. Electric power has been gaining traction ever since the invention of the light bulb. Would you push for public development of electric power? Yes, that would be key. Infrastructure. So we were kind of with the majority on that one. Still, boy, just not a lot of votes out there for me right now. As election day approaches, the economy is doing as bad as ever. All right, well, attack Roosevelt. It's not going to be enough, though. Not going to be enough. All right, let's finish this one up. Midwest, we'll focus on that. Let's see how bad it is. As long as I do better than Hoover did historically, I'll consider it a win. I didn't give myself a challenge. These psychos in this channel voted for this one. Kaiser, thank you. You visited Calvin Coolidge's grave. I have been to his grave. It's on a hillside in Vermont. Real tall, thin one. And that was long before I had this channel. But I spoke at a school in Vermont, so I swung by Calvin Coolidge's grave there. I got Pennsylvania. I'm just going to catch up on the chat while it's coming up. Yeah, I like Metallica. I just want to see if I can win Ohio. Favorite Civil War general? Grant. I got Ohio. Okay, so at least I did better than Hoover did historically. Didn't get Michigan. We'll see if I got Kansas. I got New England minus Connecticut. And then I got Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And that's it. 118 electoral votes, 42%. Considering how bad the country was at that point, to have gotten 42% of the votes. All right. UK county tier list. Ooh, interesting. Hoover retires in slightly less disgrace. He lived until, I think, the 1960s. He lived a long time after this. I love Attack of the Dead Men. I think Attack of the Dead Men has my favorite verse in a Sabaton song. The second verse of that song is so cool, the way they worded it. Two combatants spar, Hindenburg against the Tsar, moving 12 battalions large into a Russian countercharge. I love that line. That's so good. Some of their songs really flow nicely. Considering English isn't their first language and they're writing about historical topics, to get some of those songs to flow the way that they do is really good. All right, so it doesn't show us the historical results, but there you go. Hunter Smith, thank you. Your friend believes in the lost cause theory. I would find some good videos on YouTube debunking some of that and maybe watch those to get some talking points. But if this is not something your friend's even really to consider, then I'd kind of question his validity as a good friend. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know your friend. Okay, let's do another one. We're going to do another vote here. Oh, wait, I got to go back. You have to kind of do it this way. Go to mod loader. All right, we're gonna do some ones I can actually have a chance to win here. So I'll throw up another poll. And let's see here. Yeah, something happened with the stream. Give it a second. It should be back okay in a second. I don't know what happened with the quality there. They are still working on the fiber optics in our neighborhood. So, no, I'm not doing anything modern. Sorry. Okay, so we've got, let's see. We could do Winfield Scott Hancock in 1880. That was a really super close election. Let's see. I'm trying to find ones that are like possible to win. How about William Jennings Bryan in 1896? So a couple of Democrat choices there. Let's pick one where a Republican lost that's plausible. Holy cow, Hugh G. Thank you so much for that. 50 memberships. My goodness. (1976) as Gerald Ford. All right, we could do that. I have a feeling that'll probably win just because it's more recent. The recent ones tend to do better. So we'll give that a minute. Join the Discord. I'll do that, but I have a hard enough time getting on our own Discord, let alone getting on someone else's Discord. Hey, little preview, guys, before we start the next one. Kevin, thank you so much. Speculation on... Yeah, I just saw that, Kevin. I saw my friend Indy Nidell posted on Instagram a picture of him with Parr, the bass player, saying that they were working on a Sabaton history for an unreleased song. I have no idea what it could be. I have to think it's another World War I song that they have worked on, but if it had been a World War I song, it would probably have been on the album, so maybe not. I really have no idea. Okay, anyway. Real quick, I want to show you guys something before we get into this next one. So it looks like we're going to do Ford 1976, so that should be interesting. Just a little preview for you guys here of the content that recorded a couple of weeks ago at the Antietam battlefield. So you can see here the folders that I've sorted my videos into. So my friend JD from the History Underground and I spent 4 days. Actually, he spent more than 4 days. He was there longer than I was. On the Antietam battlefield, and we are both going to be doing series. Mine will probably start sooner than his in mid-September, around the anniversary. His may start later, like end of September, early October, that are going to really complement each other. And to get the full experience of the historic site content, you're going to want to definitely watch both. His videos are going to tend toward kind of the big picture. In fact, I'll let you guys see a little preview of the video that we made about what to expect. So first I got to turn up the sound, though, so you guys will be able to hear this. Here we go. Hopefully this isn't too loud and it's balanced okay. You get to see this first. This is the raw footage here.
Yeah. Go ahead and take it. All right.
I'll shrink myself.
Guys, I am so excited to be bringing you this series from the Antietam battlefield with my friend JD from the History Underground. We're going to be taking two unique looks from our own perspectives at what took place here in September of 1862. So I'm going to invite JD just to share with you some of what you can expect from his channel in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so what we are going to be looking at here at Antietam is a view of this battle from a couple of different perspectives. So on my channel, it's going to be more of a view at 30,000 feet, getting a look at some of the big movements that were taking place here on September 17th of 1862. Whereas on Volume 2 History, we're going to kind of zero in and get some of those more personal stories. Also, Chris is going to be looking at
It's too quiet.
the actions from a Union or Confederate perspective, and then I'm going to be taking a look from the opposite perspective. So hopefully, between the two channels, we're getting a comprehensive view of the Battle of Antietam. This is a huge battle that was just titanic in its reach and its scope and in its...
I'm trying to turn it up a little bit.
And really is too much for one channel, which is why we're tackling it together.
Okay, give me a second, guys. I'll try to turn it up for you. Usually I do this balancing in editing, so that's why I was a little concerned about how loud it would be. Because I tend to have it actually turned down on the desktop so that I can edit it later. So we'll see if I can get this a little louder for you. Let me know if this is any better.
You want me to stand here? Or
Yeah. Go ahead and stay here. All right. Hey guys, I am so excited to be bringing you this series from the Antietam battlefield with my friend JD from the History Underground. We're going to be taking two unique looks from our own perspectives at what took place here in September of 1862. So I'm going to invite JD just to share with you some of what you can expect from his channel in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so what we are going to be looking at here at Antietam is a view of this battle from a couple of different perspectives. So on my channel, it's going to be more of a view at 30,000 feet, getting a look at some of the big movements that were taking place here on September 17th of 1862. Whereas on Vlogging Through History, you're going to kind of zero in and get some of those more personal stories. Also, Chris is going to be looking at some of the actions from a Union or Confederate perspective, and then I'm going to be taking a look from the opposite perspective. So hopefully, between the two channels, we're getting a comprehensive view of the Battle of Antietam. This is a huge battle that was just titanic in its reach and its scope and in its importance in American history, and really is too much for one channel.
So yeah, it's actually showing as like spiking out of control on my mixer. So I don't know what else to do about that. Sorry guys. Let me go look at the stream settings and see if maybe that's where the issue is in the stream settings itself. Yeah, I don't really understand that because it's showing as significantly higher in my settings than my own volume is. So kind of strange. Anyway, so there's that, and then you're also going to get, and I'll just show you this. You don't really have to necessarily hear it. But the intro to this series is going to be done by somebody else's familiar face.
With my friend JD from the History Underground. But I have one more friend that I'd like to introduce to all of you. You hear me talk about the American Battlefield Trust and their work all the time. And so I want to invite my friend Gary Edelman just to share with you how you can get involved in supporting what they do. Thanks so much.
So yeah, so Gary's going to be making some appearances in both my videos and his. And then, yeah, so I'll show you just a little bit of what to expect here. The AFKers community, yeah, if anything, visiting diminished my view of McClellan because my man was nowhere near the battlefield where it was happening. He just kind of stayed away. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing videos about the 1st Texas and the 12th Massachusetts. Those will be separate videos. Those were the Confederate and Union units who suffered the highest casualty rate during the battle. Both of them at the cornfield. We're going to talk about the 2nd Massachusetts, which was the regiment that Robert Gould Shaw was a company commander in. You see that battle at the beginning of the movie Glory. We're going to talk about the 23rd Ohio, which is the only regiment that had 2 presidents in it. Future presidents. We're going to talk about artillery and its use at Antietam. Going to talk about the different kinds of artillery. Kind of talk about the different weapons that were used, the different ammunition that was used. Talk about what an artillery crew did, how many men were in it, and how you transported it. Kind of all those details. We're going to take a look at the civilian aspect. Look at some of the civilian families on the battlefield and how they were impacted by the battle. We're going to talk about the stories of all 6 generals who were killed or mortally wounded at the battle. And then I'm going to actually go around and go to the sites where certain people fought who then wrote letters home after the battle talking about what they experienced and actually share those letters with you. So I'm excited about that one. And then I am doing the Bloody Lane from the Union perspective. JD's going to do the Confederate perspective. So those will be kind of a hand-in-hand sort of thing. And then Gary did an intro video kind of talking about the whole campaign leading into Antietam that'll be coming up. So next patron and member live stream probably Sunday, day after tomorrow. I'll announce that very soon. CBB, thank you so much. Buckeyes still suck, you said. Okay, so there's that. I'll show you one more little thing here, and you don't need to hear the sound on this one either. Occasionally things don't go right. This was a video about Israel Richardson, who was killed at the Sunken Lane, and you'll see how things went wrong. My phone fell off of the stick, the gimbal.
In which you'll find a unique sort of memorial. It's an upside-down barrel of a cannon mounted with a base, with a plaque.
That's how my life goes sometimes. It happens way more than I'd like to admit. So I didn't have a lot of bloopers on that trip, but I tried to record, save any bloopers I did have. So there'll probably be some of those on VTH Extra at some point. Okay, anyway, the Hands of Jazz, thank you. Let's go ahead and do another one. Did we pick what we're doing? Yeah, we're doing 76, huh? All right, 76. Can Gerald Ford successfully get elected in 76? Well, we're about to find out. Oh, I didn't do it right. Hold on. I forgot to hit submit, I think. There we go. Oh, that one's not showing up. Oh, there it is. 76. Okay. Gerald Ford. Oh, that's right. He went to the University of Michigan. I feel dirty already. Don't do the mod. Do the base version. I think that's actually what we're doing. That's why it's a base scenario. Okay. All right. Yeah, he played for the University of Michigan. We'll let that go. All right. Select your running mate. So historically, it was Bob Dole, I think, in 76, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure he was the nominee, the vice presidential nominee in 76. And then 20 years later, he would be the Republican nominee for president. Or was it? Yeah, it was Rockefeller, huh? No, Rockefeller was the vice president. So let's see, 1976 election. It was Bob Dole. Okay, so it was 297 to 240. It was actually a pretty close election. Carter wins the South, plus takes New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio. So really, that's our path to victory right there. Let him have the South. He's a Southerner. Just swipe any of these. Honestly, New York alone would do it, or a combination of Ohio and something else. So Bob Dole was the candidate for Ford. Rockefeller was the vice president at the time, I think. And yes, Sweets, you are right. Stefan Beck, thank you so much. Gerald Ford became vice president. They had just passed a constitutional amendment creating a process for this sort of thing if it happened. And Spiro Agnew was caught in all kinds of corruption charges and had to resign in 73. So Gerald Ford, who I think was the House Minority Leader at the time, is chosen. He becomes vice president, and then Richard Nixon resigns, and so he becomes president. So we've got Kansas, Bob Dole. Howard Baker's from Tennessee. I don't think a Southerner is going to help me a whole lot. John Connally is a former Democrat. Remember, this is the guy who was in the car with John F. Kennedy when he was assassinated. Connally was hit as well in that assassination attempt. Or in that assassination, I should say. Rockefeller was vice president under Ford, but he wasn't the nominee for vice president in 76. Bob Dole was. Okay. Don't let Cheney and Rumsfeld convince you to kick out Nelson, Rockefeller, and Kissinger this time around, the AFKers. So what he's referring to there, Cheney and Rumsfeld are very close advisors. I think Rumsfeld was Ford's chief of staff, and I forget what Cheney's role was, but they were both in the White House at that time as advisors. Republicans can't win without Ohio. I mean, Republicans haven't ever won without Ohio. That's true. So I feel like, yeah, Bob Dole's probably the guy here. He doesn't hold back in his attacks. Ronald Reagan singled out Dole. Remember, Ronald Reagan almost won the Republican nomination in 76. But Ford did win it out. So I don't think picking a Southerner helps me tremendously. And remember, Ford's kind of the moderate. We need probably to bring in the conservative wing of the party. Okay, so Connally could be seen as an olive branch to the Reaganites, so maybe that is the way to go here. Cheney was Ford's chief of staff. Okay. Was Rumsfeld Secretary of Defense? Oh, no, Cheney was SecDef under George H.W. Bush. Yeah, so Rumsfeld was Secretary of Defense. Okay. All right, we're going to pick Connally. All right, so let's look at the map going in. It's all blue. I mean, all blue. It's 534 to 4. That's what we're facing as we start. Remember, this is coming off a 72 election, which was a ridiculously lopsided landslide in favor of Nixon. Nixon won that election big time, but he squandered all of it with the corruption that happened with Watergate and everything. So the country has turned dramatically against the Republicans in 76. Okay. Cheney took over for Rumsfeld as chief of staff. Okay. After nearly deciding to retire, Vice President Rockefeller has agreed to stay on your ticket. Wait a second. I didn't pick Rockefeller. I picked Connolly. All right, you know what? Let's go back. I think maybe I accidentally picked the mod version. And I think that's what screwed that up. There we go. Connolly. There we go. Now we got it. Same issue, though. Okay. It's fixed. You've selected John Connolly as your running mate. Can you speak a little more about that? He was a loyal Democrat for many years, but anyone can see how their party has lurched away from the mainstream. I think he can remind Americans Republicans of the sensible governing party in this country. I don't know if that's the way to go given the situation. Kaiser, thank you so much. Play Wallace 72 and attempt to get 450 electoral votes on easy. Interesting. Okay. I think I'm going to go a little more moderate with this one. Hopefully Connolly can help you win Texas. That's Dick Cheney on the right in the picture. Even if he's conservative on some issues, he's also a big-time insider and a long-time Democrat. All right. Didn't really help me with anything so far. What will your overall campaign strategy be this year? We barely defeated Ronald Reagan to win our nomination. We should take conservative positions and make sure we shore up our support in that area. Let's look for a second. We need, this area here. It's pretty moderate. Honestly, I think we need to go as moderate as possible, except on defense where the South's very hawkish. Yeah, the spin's going to be Jimmy Carter is not ready for this. He's the governor of Georgia. He's this, small-time Southern governor. Who does he think he is? He's not prepared for this office, that kind of thing. I don't think I should point out the fact that I'm the president, although being presidential kind of goes that way. Man, I don't know. All right, so look like the president. This is probably your best strategy. The voters like Carter for now, but hopefully some will think twice about his leadership as Election Day approaches. Yeah, well, so far it's not doing me a lot of good. Theodore Roosevelt versus Abraham Lincoln. It depends on when they're running. If they're running in Roosevelt's time, probably Roosevelt. If they're running in Lincoln's time, probably Lincoln. I don't know. All right, let's start hitting the Midwest. A lot of voters are concerned about honesty and integrity in our government. What can you say about yourself? This is going to be huge because this is the big knock against us right now. Is the corruption and the stuff with Nixon. Voters want to hear about solutions. I've led our economy back from a steep recession while passing a tax cut for the American people. I think we'll focus on that. This is out of step with the current mood. Voters do want to hear about honesty, integrity. All right, need to keep that in mind. Keep that in mind with the other answers. What is your opinion on the court-ordered busing of students within school districts in a way designed to achieve racial balance in our schools? I think ways can be found to minimize forced busing while also remaining true to the nation's ideals and educational goals. Let's try that. Busing's not a popular policy, and there's not much to lose by coming out against it. Okay. He pardoned Nixon, I think, because he was trying to get the country past it all. It's easy in hindsight to say, ooh, that wasn't a good decision. But I think he just wanted to move past it all. It had been several years. They had just come out of Vietnam, several years of corruption and stuff like that. I think he was just trying to refocus the country. I'm not saying it was the right or wrong decision, but what is your opinion on abortion, specifically Roe versus Wade, which, remember, this is right after that decision. And I believe Ford was pretty moderate on the abortion question. I know his wife came out in favor of abortion. I think probably states' rights is probably a way to go on this one. But let's see if this is, I don't know if this is a campaign issue at the moment. Social issues, they're kind of moderate up here. So I'll try to take the moderate position on this one. It's hard to know what to do with this question. It might as well be best to give a non-committal answer, and hopefully the issue goes away after this election. I'm doing okay in the West, but there's just not a lot of votes out there. Did Washington have a British accent? They had an accent that probably would have sounded Irish to our modern ear. If you watch John Adams, the TV series, they do a pretty good job with that accent that people would have had at the time. Southerners would have probably had an accent closer to how I speak now. Like central and northern parts of the country probably would have sounded Irish to us, or close to it, I guess. I don't think the Kennedys had Marilyn Monroe killed, no. Okay. Just checking my messages here real quick. Okay. Yeah, speaking of Betty Ford, my wife and I just started watching the TV show The First Lady, which kind of focuses on the biographies of Michelle Obama, Betty Ford, and Eleanor Roosevelt. It's very interesting. What is your position on the federal government making loans to states or cities in need of financial help? An obvious recent example is the $2.3 billion bailout of New York City. Well, how do people feel about this? We're moderate on everything, it seems. Federal spending, conservative to moderate. So we need to not go too crazy on this one. Yeah, Ford was played for the University of Michigan. Handsome guy, I think. Yeah, exactly. Accents a couple hundred years ago were completely different than they were today. Okay. Just catching up on the chat here a little bit. Thank you for those gifted memberships, Hughes. All right. So Ford did the bailout. We need to try and be moderate on this one, I think. Some accuse you of flip-flopping after you decided to bail out New York. It's good to emphasize that they passed reforms first. None of this is helping me, though. Oh, my goodness. This is a brutal election. Do you support the Humphrey Hawkins Full Employment Act? Again, we're trying to win states that are moderate in terms of spending and stuff like that. This act has no basis in economic reality. If we could wave a magic wand and ensure 3% unemployment and 0% of inflation with a balanced budget and no trade deficit, do you think we wouldn't have done it already? Yeah, I'm going to say I'm all for some programs to provide jobs, but this act has too many mandates and goals that are inconsistent with each other. This is a good chance to present yourself as the voice of common sense and honesty. Just wait for the Playboy interview. Try to beat Reagan as Carter. Yeah, we might do that one sometime. All right, did that help me at all? Still not really. Although, I mean, even in my home state of Michigan, Gerald Ford's down by 14 points right now. And we're a third of the way through this already. Do you believe the United States can afford a reduction in defense spending? This is the middle of the Cold War. How do people feel about national defense? Again, they're moderate. The Hawks are all in the South, so... as president, I'll remain vigilant against the Soviet threat. Under no circumstances would I decrease our defense budget. This is a standard Republican position. It doesn't really help me, though. Yes, Ford's birth name was Leslie Lynch King Jr. And he's not the only president who was born with a different name than he had when he became president. Bill Clinton was William Jefferson Blythe when he was born. I think William Jefferson Blythe III or something like that. Ulysses S. Grant was born Hiram Ulysses Grant. And then there's others who went by their middle names like John Calvin Coolidge and Thomas Woodrow Wilson. Stephen Grover Cleveland is another one. Would I have been a loyalist or patriot? Probably loyalist, but it's hard to say. It probably would depend on my station in life at that point. My ancestors were probably 75% patriot and 25% loyalist. Yeah, this would be a lot of fun as a multiplayer game, absolutely. Who made the best guns of World War II? What kind of guns? We talking artillery? We talking small guns? We talking machine guns? Heavy weapons? Kind of depends. But overall, I would say probably the Germans. Least favorite MLS team? LAFC, because they just got that big signing, Gareth Bale. No, really, though, it's probably LA Galaxy. I don't really have a least favorite, but I had to pick somebody. Am I winning? No, I'm doing terribly. Let's go to Michigan, home state. Do you support the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment? Again, this is something, I don't remember how Ford felt about it, but I know his wife, even after he left office, was very outspoken about this. So, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. Social issues, again, we're going to be moderate to liberal in the areas that I'm trying to win. They're much more conservative in the South. So the liberal position probably helps me more than the conservative position here. I support it. This is the mainstream answer shared by all major politicians, unless you count a guy like Reagan. Yeah. All right, so that helped me a little bit, but again, not much. Teddy Roosevelt versus Abraham Lincoln in a fight. Who wins? Probably Abraham Lincoln. Jefferson versus Adams. I don't know exactly how that would go because the nature of presidential elections was so incredibly different then. Neil, thank you for that. I have not been to Ireland, but it is happening. I will be shocked if I'm not in Ireland sometime in the next 2 years. It will definitely happen. My wife loves the UK, so I think she'd probably love Ireland as well. Of course, I know Northern Ireland's part of the UK, but what is your position on a pardon of Vietnam War draft evaders? I feel like, again, the liberal position probably helps me here more than the conservative one. We want to acknowledge the men who served. I don't know. All right, we're going to go extreme because we got to do something to shake this up. This is not a popular answer with Republicans. Well, I'm not popular with anybody right now, so it's tricky because you can't go left of Carter. You're right. Man, brutal. Just brutal. Would you support a law for universal health care in this country? On the economy, the South tends to be more liberal. So I'm going to say absolutely not on this one. Good answer to fire off the base. AFKers, thank you. Don't worry, we're about to get mad sympathy votes for surviving your back-to-back assassination attempts. Good point. So I can't remember both of them, but at least one of them was Squeaky Fromm, who was a follower of Charles Manson, who tried to shoot him. I think the gun jammed or something. Your campaign just received a big break in the form of a controversial interview that Carter did with Playboy, where he confessed to committing adultery in his heart and used some coarse language. Oh, Jimmy, my good Christian man, what were you thinking, sir? I feel like I gotta shake it up, right? I mean, do I wanna double down on this? What do you guys think? Become a peanut farmer. All right, so what should we do here? Should we... So should we do a press conference or no press conference? So some people are saying no. I'll go ahead and let you guys vote on this one. Has Chevy Chase started to do his SNL impressions yet? No. You mean like where he falls down the stairs and stuff all the time? Oh boy. You guys are completely divided on this one. Dang. A lot of people are saying do nothing. Is coarse language bad? It's all about who thinks it's bad, right? It all depends on what people think. So people are saying press conference, but I got a lot of people telling me that it hurts the campaign to do it, and I'm kind of leaning towards it. So I'm going to go against the voters on this one, and we're going to say no press conference. Sorry, I'm ignoring you guys this time. This is a no-brainer. Just sit back and let Carter shoot himself in the foot. Woo! Okay. Hey, look, we got a new map. Things are starting to look a little bit better now. We might have a chance here. Excellent point, P. Fletch. First rule of politics, never interrupt your opponent when he's shooting himself in the foot. Excellent advice, for sure. Okay. Back to Michigan. There's talk of a presidential debate for the first time since 1960. There haven't been any since those famous debates between Kennedy and Nixon. I'm the president and Carter is an upstart from Georgia. Let's keep it that way. I feel like that's probably the way to go on this one. I don't know. What do you guys think? And it's going to take a little time because there's a delay here. So I'm going to see what you guys think about this. Should I do the debates or not? Give me a second, guys. I got to send something here. I'm interesting. By the way, guys, the Vlogging Through History website is currently being built. So I'm actually I gotta send some codes here real quick to the guy who's building the website. So just give me a second. All right. Yeah, I feel like the incumbent would lose in a debate, but I feel like this is going to help. You perform pretty well in these debates. Furthermore, as the election gets closer, the economy is improving, and voters are giving things a closer look. Excellent. AFKers, you crack under the pressure and say there's no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe. That's right. He did do that, but seems like it worked out for me. Look at that map now. Oh, yeah, we got a whole new election now. Thomas, thank you. Help remembering history. Repetitiveness. Find a topic and just learn a lot about it. It'll get in there. It'll sink in. Some of your operatives want to attack Carter for the way he has equivocated on abortion, gun control, busing, labor issues, and so on. Will you approve a series of ads labeling him as a flip-flopper? Yeah. Limited spots asking if we really know who Jimmy Carter is, or attacking him on one of the issues but not go overboard. Yeah, I feel like this. This is probably the best strategy. All right. Feeling good now. Feeling good. Do I know coding? No. My kids are learning some of that, though. Your Secretary of Agriculture, Earl Butz, will be quoted in next week's Rolling Stone as making some very crude and racist jokes. Some have suggested you fire him before the article is released. Oh, boy. Wow. This is interesting. I don't think I want to wait on this. So I think I need to act. Let him leave the day the article comes out. That way the connection is clear. Fire him immediately. I'm going to fire him immediately. This is good proactive step that helps minimize the damage from his gaffe. Excellent. All right. Boy, even in the South, we've actually made it close. You have vetoed a significant number of bills in your 2 years as president. What was your reasoning for that? Hold on a second here, guys. There we go. Fire Rusty Butts. Congress is simply too liberal to be a useful partner. All right, so I'm going to... oh, boy. This is a tough one, too. The Democrats, with their huge majorities, have passed bill after bill outside of the American mainstream. I've been left with little choice. Have I ever broke a bone? Almost all of my fingers. I've cracked some ribs, which is brutal, but that's about it. Nothing major. Michael Everett, is it easy to walk the battlefield? Yeah, I mean... you can walk some parts of it. I would drive some of it. It's a big battlefield. I feel like you probably get more out of it if you drive. There's plenty of places to park, and it's nice and wide open, so it's not like there's a ton of people everywhere, depending on when you go. But you can, I mean, if you stay in town, there's certain parts you could walk to. I feel like I'm gonna call them extreme here. It is a Democratic majority, yeah. The Democrats have a majority in the House for something like 40 years at this point. People are saying 2. Okay. All right, we'll go 2. Is it true that relations with Congress have been stormy? It is true. But what else can you expect when the House is mostly Democrat and you're a Republican? All right. Woo, this one's going to be close. Let's go back to Ohio. Do you think the Panama Canal should be turned back over to Panama? All right, how do people feel about this? There's not really anything to say about that stuff. I feel like, though, national defense, this, especially in the Cold War era, we don't really want to turn Panama back over yet. Challenge the ghost of Teddy Roosevelt and see what he says. No, I think we have to say no to this. That's a good conservative answer on foreign policy. Ooh, boy. 1 point in Ohio right now. It's 276 to 262. Betty Ford is out there making some pretty bold statements. Yeah, Betty Ford did that. About sexuality, marijuana, and other topics. Conservatives want to know if you can have a quiet chat with her to tone it down a bit. All right, so what are we talking about when it comes to social issues here? William, thank you so much. Yeah, you're right about that gaffe. I agree, and the connection to Nixon. Christian, thank you very much. Winfield Scott, if Lincoln had let him run the war as he wanted. I think eventually they kind of went down the road of what Winfield Scott wanted. I think maybe it probably would have gone better if Winfield Scott had stayed in that position rather than McClellan taking it over, Christian. So my gut tells me, I don't know if Scott was up to the job given his health and his age, but I feel like it probably would have been better. Yeah. Okay. My wife's public approval rating is something like 75%. I wish I had her touch with the media. Yes. Back the wife is always a good decision, guys, whenever possible. I hope my wife doesn't hear me say that. Okay. Hey, it's going pretty good at the moment. Let's go to Iowa. Do you have a position on the gun control issue? Interesting. I have played the political machine. I don't know what the stance is on this one. I'm an opponent of gun control overall, but some common sense measures like the 1968 Act are appropriate. See, I don't know. I feel like the people I'm trying to win over might be in favor of some gun control. I'm not sure. Blink twice if your wife is behind you. That's amazing. My wife's she's not home at the moment. It's one of the reasons why I'm streaming right now, because she's working on her office. She's got a new job as a school counselor. So, let's see. Steven, I'm glad you enjoyed that Russian cemetery video. That was my very first stop when I got to the Netherlands back in May. I had just flown all night, hadn't gotten any sleep really. Yeah, let's kind of go moderate on this one. This is a pretty safe answer that appeals to your party without alienating moderates. Okay, excellent. Woo, boy, there's a lot of states that could go either way in this one. General George Brown, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has made some comments that Israel has become a burden to the national defense effort. Do you agree with this? Woo! This is a hot button issue in this campaign. Boy. Watch her suddenly finish The Office early. That's awesome. The general's views are his own. I don't know here. What should I do here? Disagree strongly? Yeah, this is a touchy one. Wait, I was promised VTH playing this game wearing a suit. Already a broken election. Promise. So the memberships, that's something that he's been gifting there. The main thing is they give you access to we do periodical member and patron only streams that are smaller. So okay, so I'm going to reprimand him. I don't agree with these views. This is a good enough answer, but some Jewish voters were hoping for more. Yeah, well, that makes sense. It would have played well in New York, but I don't know if it would have been enough to swing New York in my favor. Although right now I'm not doing great in some of these states. Let's go to Pennsylvania. In 1972, George McGovern proposed replacing the income tax exemption with a $1,000 guaranteed minimum income for every American citizen. Are you interested in this type of proposal? Yeah, I don't think so. I feel like that's a pretty extreme position in this election. Yeah, I'm going to say no. That moved Texas a little more our direction. That definitely made the election closer. What is your position on right-to-work laws? Would you support a national bill to repeal Taft-Hartley and do away with right-to-work? How do people stand on labor issues? Does it say? I don't know. I feel like right-to-work laws... I feel like, again, I want to go moderate here. But siding against the union's probably going to hurt me in some of these industrial states. Jason, cemetery exploration. How you doing? Very cool. I feel like I'm going to support the labor unions because of the states I'm trying to win in this case. William Aarons, thank you. And yeah, I think you're probably right. A Ford win probably does, because Ford losing sets up Reagan for the nomination in 1980, which takes the Republicans more conservative. It starts, I think, really kind of it continues the process of the wider gap between liberal and conservative in the two different parties. Okay. Yeah, we're going to support that. This is not what your party wants to hear out of you. Yeah, but I think it might help me in some of the states I need to win. So, it doesn't look like it did, though. Ugh. Okay. Leave it to the states. Yeah, sorry. There's a 30-second delay, and I just now saw you guys saying, too. What is your feelings in the Gregg versus Georgia case recently decided that allows capital punishment in the U.S.? Yeah, I'll support that. Ooh, that didn't help me, really. Oh, now it's 434-104. I just blew this election. Could we have done more to save South Vietnam in 1975, such as airstrikes or a limited engagement? We should never have fought Vietnam in the first place. This is a dovish answer, but it repudiates some of your own actions as president. Ugh. Well, I blew this. Who do I think is an underrated president? Polk is definitely one that a lot of people talk about, and I think that's a good answer. Calvin Coolidge. Would you focus your efforts in the last days? Yeah, I blew this campaign in the end, unfortunately. Jimmy Carter's going to win. Guess who's not getting a job as a political campaign advisor? Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right, while we wait for this to finish up, we'll do a little bit of Q&A time before we wrap up the stream. Been going for almost 2 hours now. Luke the Creep. Glad you're here. Glad you discovered the channel. And if you guys are new and you haven't already, this is not my newest channel, or my original channel. I actually had a gaming channel first, which we now call VTH Gaming. So there's actually 3 other channels, so you can check those out. One of them, VTH Originals, is just where I upload all of the original stuff, like what you saw today. My visit to the cemetery in the Netherlands. All of that stuff eventually goes on VTH Originals as well. But VTH Extra is all the stuff that doesn't fit on my gaming channel or on my history channel. It's a lot of just kind of like life stuff. Me talking a little more about my own personal background. VTH Gaming is the gaming channel, and I try to upload 4 or 5 videos a week on the gaming channel. So check those out. The links should be in the description. And I have a podcast now, and I'm writing a book. So yes, the VTH multiverse is nearly complete. I lost my own state, by the way. That kind of sucks. I mean, my own state, personally. Gerald Ford's state, I won. Michigan. I think it's harder campaigning now. UK history or US? UK. There's a lot more history in the UK than there is in the US. So yeah, please check out some of those other channels. New podcast went up yesterday. The new website is being worked on as we speak. I was getting an email from the website guy in Virginia while we were streaming. So thank you guys. Yes, YouTube is a full-time job for me now. It's not the only full-time job I have, but it is. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you again real soon.